Hello dear students, I welcome you for our today's topic, Culture as a Heritage of India. While going through this topic, we will come to know about history of Indian culture, cultural heritage of India, features of Indian culture and phases of Indian culture. Let's start with the history of Indian culture. The study of ancient history and culture shows how rich and diversified is Indian heritage. The facts about the ancient Indus Valley civilization leave one awestruck in terms of logical and rational thinking and scientific outlook of the people. A number of cultural elements have been taken from the ancient culture: town planning, agricultural farming, cattle rearing and dairy farming, use of burn bricks, building of check dams, script, paintings, dressing and ornaments, etc. Everything could be found in the ancient culture, and many of them are in continued use till today. Similarly, religious beliefs, god worship, rituals and dances find their roots in ancient Indian tradition. Indian culture is known for family values, societal bonding and respect for elders. India represents a colorful mosaic of number of people with their own culture, traditions, customs, values, languages, religious beliefs and cuisines. It is a melting pot of different cultures, and the concoction produced henceforth is more beautiful than the individual cultural ingredients. This has been made possible because of high level of tolerance among the people, which in turn is taught and transferred through Indian culture. Indian value system welcomes cultures from all different directions and gives complete freedom to propagate themselves on the Indian land. Indian culture ethos believes in influencing other cultures and getting influenced at the same time from different cultures. The present India is a synthesis of all the good elements taken from everywhere, which had the capability to influence and appeal to the logical and rational mind for peaceful coexistence. Let us go through the cultural heritage of India. Dear students, India has a rich cultural tradition. There is a harmonious blend of art, religion and philosophy in the Indian culture. They are so beautifully interwoven in the fabric of Indian way of life and thought that they are inseparable. Indian culture is actually an outcome of continuous synthesis and has absorbed many external influences in the course of long journey of history. The first stirring of civilization occurred amongst the people of India some 4,000 years before the birth of Christ. From those ancient times till the recent past, we were exposed to unbroken sequence of civilizations. It is only the dynamism and the flexibility of Indian culture that enabled it to survive these foreign invasions and retain its originality and traditional character even after imbibing the best of these external influences. Indian people by nature, tolerant and fatalists, did not at any time ridicule the traditions of foreign civilizations. On the other hand, Indian mind has assimilated much of the thinking of the other cultures, thus enriching it and thereby becoming unique in character. Today, it is the uniqueness which attracts the Western societies to the Indian culture. Disillusioned with their materialistic lives, they turn to India for solace and peace. Indian art was influenced by the religious beliefs and the philosophical trends of the times. The temples of the south The caves of Ajanta, Ellora and Khajuraho are living testimony to the artistic excellence achieved by the Indian artists, sculptors and architects in those gone by days. Foreign tourists experience a spiritual reawakening on visiting these temples. Indian music is remarkable because of the continuity in its growth. Long before the Christian era, it had developed not only definite laws of theory and practice, but even comprehensive theories of appreciation. Like Indian dance, it is built on the concepts of ragas. Each raga is regarded as appropriate to certain emotions, a certain mood suitable for certain time of the day or night. Since independence, Indians themselves have become increasingly keen to promote their sense of national identity and cultural unity. And in consequence, there has been a revival of interests in indigenous folk arts, especially in the realm of music and dance. Now, it is up to our educational institutions to ensure that the younger generation imbibes the right values and tries to uphold the torch of spiritual and cultural renaissance for the rest of the world to see and emulate and not get carried away by the materialistic ideology of the West, where man has achieved astounding success in unraveling the mysteries of nature but feels alienated and rootless in his own community and society. We must ensure that modern India does not at any stage forget its rich cultural heritage, a legacy of our ancient seers, philosophers, aped sages. The success which festivals of India have met within the USA, France and Russia proves the interest of foreigners in our cultural traditions. The classical theatre has a tradition of more than 2000 years. These were mainly performed on platforms raised in temple, courtyards and palaces. The choice of themes was mainly taken from folk stories, epics and religious texts. It was an elaborate affair and combined dance, acting and music. Historically speaking, with the passing of early Hindu kingdoms under whose patronage the arts had flourished in India, and the Muslim invasion of the north, the dramatic tradition almost died in the north. However, south of India retained a remarkable continuity of its cultural heritage virtually because of its geographical position, where the foreign invaders did not meet with much success. It goes to the credit of the Indian people's tenacity and ability that they were able to retain their essential traditional outlook in spite of fierce onslaughts by invaders. The British Raj to a certain extent was responsible for the revival of intellectual curiosity. A deep interest was taken in the story of India's past and to preserve the country's rich cultural heritage. It was a sign of maturity and foresight on the part of the British to leave the people to follow their faith and beliefs of which they were not aware. All these are attempts to keep our cultural heritage alive and transit it to the younger generations. Now, my dear students, let us know about the features of Indian culture. Number 1, unity in diversity. According to the Indian spiritual tradition, there is only one source for the universe, but it has infinite manifestations. Many people have described and experienced it in different ways. The principle of unity in diversity is the implicit law of nature, universe and life. people belonging to various religions harmoniously coexist in India. Numerous styles of architecture, sculpture, painting, music, dance, festivals and customs have developed there. This wide variety has made the Indian culture rich and beautiful. Different ethnic groups like Iranians, Greeks, Kushans, Shakas, Hunas, Arabs, Turks, Mughals and Europeans came to India. They settled here and mingled with the local population. They brought their cultural habits, thoughts, ideas to India. India has always shown a remarkable capacity for the assimilation of ideas. Despite of this diversity, there is an intrinsic unity in our cultural heritage. Now, going through the diversity, let us continue with the continuity and change. Indian cultural heritage is as old as the Indus Valley civilization. It still flourishes, maintaining its original features together with the changes. Even today, the pattern of a house in an Indian village is not very different from that of a Harappan house. There were many great cultures in different parts of the world. However, most of them have disappeared or have been replaced by other cultures. A culture perishes when it fails to absorb changes. Several changes were brought about in Indian thought and practices by various movements. The Indian culture has maintained an unbroken continuity from the Vedic times to the present day in spite of countless wars and 2 centuries of the British rule. Thus, a process of continuity and change has always been a feature of the Indian culture. It shows the dynamic character of our culture. So, dear students, now let us discuss the spiritual and material aspect of culture. India is popularly known to be a land of spiritualism. However, Indian history from ancient times showed the development of materialistic culture as well. Our ancient civilizations were proud of its vast knowledge of mathematics, weights and measures. Discoveries of many scientific theories were made by Indians long before the modern science acknowledged them. Similarly, in the areas of astronomy, medicine and other sciences, India's achievements in ancient times were significant. There was no resistance from religions in pursuing such knowledge. Now let us see how culture is closely connected social system. Dear students, the Indian culture has family-bound traditions and customs. The families are closely connected with grandparents, parents, children and grandchildren. They share the same spirit, values, tradition and property. Indians regard family as an institution or a link which continues for the rest of their lives. Now, let us go through cultural charisma, a cultural appeal. Dear students, India is a place of infinite variety of culture and tradition. They are the most remarkable features of India. One can identify Indian music, Indian dance, Indian literature, Indian cuisine, Indian fairs and festivals and so on. Indian classical music and dance are mentioned in the ancient religious texts and are treasured by its people till now. There are innumerable religious and historical monuments in India that reflect the strong influence of several rulers that ruled the country for ages. Now, my dear students, let us go through the phases of Indian culture. First, Indian culture during the ancient era. Dear students, India has a continuous history covering a very long period. Harappa and Mohenjo-daro on the banks of the river Indus around 2700 BC bear testimony to the early character of Indian civilization. The culture associated with the Harappan civilization is the first urban culture in India. The Harappans built the earliest cities complete with town planning, including sanitation, drainage system, and broad well-laid roads. They built double-storied houses of burnt bricks, each one of which had a bathroom and a kitchen. Harappans knew how to write, and most of their seals contained some form of script. They were perhaps the first people to cultivate cotton. By 1800 BC, the Harappan civilization began to decline. Now then came the Vedic culture. Dear students, after the decline of the Harappan civilization, a new culture flourished in the same region. It gradually spread across the Ganga, Yamuna plains and came to be known as the Aryan culture. The Aryans settled on the banks of the river Indus and Saraswati. They adopted agricultural and settled life. They composed many hymns in honor of their gods and goddesses. These were compiled in the 4 Vedas, the Rig Veda, the Samveda, the Yajur Veda, and the Athra Veda. The word Veda means sacred spiritual knowledge. These Vedas were considered infallible as they imparted the highest spiritual knowledge. Since our knowledge of the early Aryans is based on these Vedas, the culture of this period is called the Vedic culture. Scholars divide the Vedic period into earlier and later Vedic periods. The earlier period is represented by the Rig Veda, the later by all other Vedic literature including the Brahmanas, Arankas and Upanishads. Now dear students, let us go through the religious developments. The period 600 BC to 200 BC is important for political and cultural unity of the country. Ancient India saw the rise of 2 very important religions, that is Jainism and Buddhism. They left a lasting influence on Indian life and culture. Basically, both these movements were against the orthodox and ritualistic Brahminical religion. Both the reforms emphasized moral life and founded an order of monks and established monasteries called Sathankas in Jainism and Viharas in Buddhism. Now let us discuss Jainism. Dear students, the founder of Jainism is believed to be Rishabhdeva, the first of the 24th Tirthakara, and as the last Tirthakara, Mahavira developed and gave final shape to the Jain doctrines. According to a popular belief, it was Mahavira who founded Jainism. The Jains lay great emphasis on severe penance and asceticism. Mahavira asked them to take 5 vows. Number 1, not to tell lies. Number 2, not to injure life. Number 3, not to steal. Number 4, not to own property. Number 5, to maintain chastity. Now dear students, let us discuss Buddhism. Buddhism was led by Gautam Buddha, a younger contemporary of Mahavira. Buddha was decidedly the greatest of the saints born in India. He preached his religion for a period of 45 years. About 487 BC at Kushinagar, he left his world on Purnima of Baisakh. Buddha was an embodiment of sacrifice, service, and truth, which attracted the people. Buddha's main teachings include Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Paths. The Four Noble Truths: this world is full of sorrows. Desire is the main cause of these sorrows. One can get rid of these sorrows by killing desires. The desires can be killed only by following the Eightfold Path. These are: number 1, right understanding; number 2, right thought; number 3, right speech; number 4, right action; number 5, right livelihood; number 6, right effort; number 7, right mindfulness; and number 8, right meditation. Now, dear students, let us discuss culture during Ashoka's period. Ashoka stands out as a ruler who combined successful kingship with idealism and philosophy. After the Battle of Kalinga, he adopted the policy of Dharma Vijaya, that is, conquest through Dharma. His policies were oriented towards the welfare of his people. His Dharma was based on social responsibility. Ashoka communicated his thoughts and philosophy to his people by inscribing them on stone pillars and rock surfaces. These edicts are remarkable examples of Mauryan architecture and also of engineering skills. He asked people to practice ahimsa. Now, dear students, let us go through Indian culture during the medieval era. The medieval period is considered as an age of great cultural synthesis in India. The Turks and the Mughals introduced fresh ideas in the socio-cultural fields. The Mughal emperor Akbar tried to merge the best elements of the religions of his empire like Islam, Hinduism, Christianity, and Jainism. It encouraged the purification of soul through the desire for God. The Mughal emperors encouraged the blending of cultures to create a united India. Now, dear students, let us discuss Sufism. Sufism is a term used to refer to mystical religious ideas in Islam. It had evolved into a well-developed movement by the 11th century. Sufis want to establish a direct communion with the divine. The basis of Sufism is God and man, and the relation between them is love. The Sufis were regarded as people who kept their heart pure. They sought to communicate with God through their ascetic practices, doctrine of divine love, and union with God. Sufism bridged the gap between Islam and Hinduism in India. Now, dear students, let us discuss Bhakti movement. The Bhakti movement popularized devotional surrender to a supreme God. Its origins are traced to the Brahmanical and Buddhist traditions of ancient India. It emerged in South India. This was based on religious equality and social participation. The Bhakti movements attempted to break away from the orthodox Brahmanism. The Bhakti saints like Kabir, Nanak, Chaitanya, and Tulsidas believed in religious equality and identified themselves with the sufferings of the common people. Let us discuss now Sikhism. The teachings and philosophy of Guru Nanak form an important part of Indian philosophical thought. His philosophy consists of three basic elements: a leading charismatic personality, ideology, and organization. Nanak was against the prevailing religious beliefs and attempted to establish a true religion which could lead to salvation. He rejected idol worship and did not favor pilgrimage. He dismissed the theory of incarnation and was against rituals. He laid emphasis on having a true guru for revelation. He advised people to follow the principles of conduct and worship. He emphasized the concepts of justice, righteousness, and liberty. Now, dear students, let us discuss Indian culture during the modern era. The social and religious movements in the 19th century led to the rise of modern India. Modern literature in Indian languages was influenced by the spread of English education. India thus came in contact with the Western ideas and institutions. Friendly relations existed between Hindus and Muslims, and religious tolerance was practiced. Members of both the communities participated in each other's festivals. The Muslims adapted themselves with the Indian culture so well that it was difficult to distinguish one from the other. My dear students, let us discuss social conditions. By the turn of the 20th century, the social conditions were unfavorable for women. The birth of a girl child was considered to be a misfortune. Girls were married off in their childhood. As child marriages were common, there were a lot of widows, including girls. Intercaste marriages were not allowed. Polygamy was permitted. Women had no right to property or divorce. The social system did not permit a person from a low caste to eat with a person of a higher caste. Dear students, let us go through social and religious reformers. Christian missionaries started schools that were also attended by Indian children. They introduced printing for spreading Christian ideals and literature. English education had a great impact on the society. New ideas of liberalism, rationalism, democracy, equality, and freedom came through it. Soon English language became popular among the English educated Indians and acted as a bridging force. So dear students, this was all about today's topic, culture as a heritage of India. See you again with the new topic. Till then, goodbye.